Let's talk about boundaries. Not the kind that keep people out, but the kind that keep you whole. If you've ever felt drained, manipulated, or guilty for saying no, then you know the emotional toll toxic people can take. They push, they prod, they cross lines that should never be crossed. And yet we hesitate. We worry about being too harsh, too distant, too selfish. But let me tell you something. Boundaries aren't walls to keep love out. They're gates that let the right kind of love in. And if you don't set them, someone else will set them for you. When you've spent years accommodating people who thrive on control, setting boundaries can feel unnatural, almost rebellious. But boundaries are not acts of defiance. They are acts of self-respect. Toxic people often don't respect limits, not because they don't understand them, but because they benefit from ignoring them. They push against your no to see if it crumbles. They test your patience, your kindness, your endurance. And the hard truth, every time you let them overstep, they learn that your limits are flexible. But beloved, your peace is not a bargaining chip. I know what some of you are thinking, but won't I seem mean? Won't they be upset? The answer is yes, sometimes they will. But that is their reaction, not your responsibility. You are not required to light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. A healthy boundary sounds like, I will not engage in conversations that are disrespectful. It sounds like, I love you, but I cannot allow you to mistreat me. It sounds like, this is what I need in order to be healthy, and I will not apologize for it. When you set these limits, you are not being cruel, you are being clear. The guilt that often follows is a learned response. Maybe you were raised to put everyone else's needs before your own. Maybe you've been conditioned to believe that love means sacrifice, no matter the cost. But let me ask you this, what kind of love demands your exhaustion? What kind of relationship only works if you shrink yourself? True connection does not require you to be small. The people who genuinely care about you will respect your boundaries, even if it takes them time to adjust. The ones who react with anger, manipulation, or guilt, they were never honoring you to begin with. You are allowed to walk away from toxicity, even if it comes from family. You are allowed to say no without explaining yourself. You are allowed to take up space without guilt. And when you start enforcing your limits, you will see something remarkable happen. Your confidence will grow, your peace will return. You will start attracting relationships that nourish rather than deplete you. And yes, some people will resist your boundaries, but that's okay. The ones who truly belong in your life will adjust. Beloved, boundaries are not just about keeping the wrong people at a distance. They're about making room for the right people to come close. When you love yourself enough to stand firm, you send a message to the world about how you deserve to be treated. And that, my friends, is an act of courage. So stand tall, hold your ground, set your boundaries without guilt, without apology, without fear, because your peace is worth it. Beloved, toxic people are masterful at setting traps. They know exactly how to push your buttons, how to draw you into an argument, how to twist a conversation until you're left defending yourself over things that don't even matter. They thrive on chaos because it gives them power. And the moment you take the bait, the moment you react with anger, frustration, or desperation, you're playing right into their hands. But hear me on this. You do not have to engage. You do not have to step into the storm just because they invited you. The bait can come in many forms. Maybe it's a passive-aggressive comment disguised as concern. Maybe it's a sudden outburst designed to make you look like the problem. Maybe it's an attempt to guilt trip you into doing something you don't want to do. And because toxic people know your insecurities, they will dangle those in front of you, hoping you'll grab hold. They will provoke you, question your integrity, make you feel small, anything to get a reaction. But beloved, their power isn't in what they say, it's in how you respond. When you refuse to take the bait, something remarkable happens. You break the cycle. You rob them of the reaction they were counting on. Imagine a fisherman casting a line into the water, waiting for a fish to bite. If the fish doesn't take the bait, the fisherman gets frustrated. He might cast the line again and again, trying different angles, different lures. But if the fish never bites, eventually the fisherman gives up. The same is true with toxic people. When they see that their usual tricks no longer work on you, they lose interest. But I know it's hard. It's hard when someone is poking at your wounds, twisting your words, trying to make you the villain. Every part of you wants to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to set the record straight. But beloved, the truth does not need your defense. Your worth is not up for debate. You don't have to argue with someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, respond with silence. Respond with distance. Respond with a simple, I'm not going to have this conversation. Nothing frustrates a manipulator more than someone who refuses to be manipulated. Now, let's be clear. Refusing to take the bait does not mean suppressing your emotions. It does not mean pretending that their words don't hurt. It simply means choosing where to invest your energy. Ask yourself, is this battle worth my peace? Because every time you engage with someone who only wants to drain you, you're giving them access to something sacred, your mind, your heart, your time. And, beloved, your peace is far too valuable to be handed over to someone who only wants to destroy it. So the next time a toxic person tries to lure you into their chaos, take a deep breath and remember this. You are not a puppet on their string. You are not required to attend every argument you're invited to. You do not have to fight battles that were never meant for you. Let them cast their bait. Let them stir the waters. Let them throw their tantrums and then walk away. Because when you choose not to engage, you choose freedom. And that, beloved, is a power they can never take from you. Beloved, one of the hardest lessons in life is learning when to step back, when to stop pouring your energy into people who only drain you, and when to protect your peace above all else. Toxic people thrive on engagement. They want your reaction. They want you tangled in their web of drama, constantly justifying, defending, explaining yourself. But hear me, you do not owe them your energy. There is a quiet strength in detaching, in refusing to be pulled into every battle, in realizing that not every situation requires your response. Detachment does not mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you lack empathy or that you're indifferent to the struggles of others. What it does mean is that you are no longer allowing someone else's chaos to dictate your inner world. It means recognizing that some people do not want resolution. They want control. They want to keep you emotionally invested because as long as you are reacting, they are in charge. But the moment you detach, the moment you stop feeding the cycle, they lose their power over you. Think about the last time a toxic person tried to provoke you. Maybe they twisted your words. Maybe they used guilt, blame, or anger to pull you into a fight. And maybe you engaged because you wanted to prove a point, to defend your integrity, to set the record straight. But let me ask you, did it change anything? Or did it leave you feeling drained, frustrated, and unheard? Toxic people don't argue to find common ground. They argue to win. And as long as you're engaging, they will always keep moving the goalpost, always twisting the narrative, always finding a way to pull you back in. Beloved, it is not your job to fix, rescue, or carry the emotional weight of people who refuse to take responsibility for their own actions. You can love someone and still refuse to be their emotional dumping ground. You can care about someone and still recognize when their behavior is toxic. Detachment is not about cutting people out of your life in anger. It's about creating space between you and the chaos. It's about saying, I refuse to let your storm become mine. Because the truth is, some people only know how to function in dysfunction. And if you're not careful, they'll pull you into their storm and call it love. So how do you detach? You do it by recognizing what is yours to carry and what is not. You do it by refusing to get pulled into arguments that go nowhere. You do it by walking away from conversations that leave you feeling small. You do it by keeping your responses simple. I'm not discussing this. I won't be spoken to that way. That's your opinion, not my reality. And then you hold firm. No explaining, no arguing, no defending, just quiet, steady, unwavering peace. Beloved, your time, your energy, and your emotional well-being are sacred. Don't waste them on people who only take and never give. Don't hand over your peace to people who thrive on chaos. When you detach from toxic people, you don't lose anything worth keeping. Instead, you gain something priceless: clarity, freedom, and the ability to live your life without constantly being dragged into someone else's storm. So take a step back, breathe, let them wrestle with their own chaos, and you walk forward in peace. Beloved, there will always be people who try to rewrite your story. People who twist your words, distort your intentions, and paint a picture of you that serves their narrative. Toxic people are experts at making you question yourself. They'll tell you that you're the problem, that you're too sensitive, too difficult, too much. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing them. But hear me now, your story is yours to tell. Your truth is yours to own. No one else gets to hold the pen. The moment you begin to stand up for yourself, toxic people will rewrite the script. Suddenly, you're selfish for setting boundaries. You're difficult for refusing to engage in their drama. You're the villain because you stop tolerating their behavior. And for a while, that narrative will hurt. It's painful to be misunderstood. It's frustrating to know the truth and watch someone twist it into a lie. But beloved, you do not need to convince anyone of who you are. People who genuinely love you will see you clearly. People who are committed to misunderstanding you were never truly listening in the first place. Owning your story means refusing to let someone else's version of you define who you are. It means recognizing that their perception of you is shaped by their wounds, their insecurities, and their need for control. It means understanding that when someone paints you as the villain in their story, it often has more to do with their inability to manipulate you than it does with your actual character. You don't have to fight to change their mind. You don't have to waste your breath proving your worth. The truth will always outlive the lie. I know how tempting it is to correct the narrative, to defend yourself against the whispers, the accusations, the twisted stories told behind your back. But beloved, your energy is far too valuable to be spent trying to rewrite a script that was never yours to begin with. Let them talk. Let them believe what they want. And you walk in truth. You keep living, loving, and growing in the fullness of who you are. Because at the end of the day, the people who matter will know your heart. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to be part of your story's next chapter. There is power in knowing who you are. There is freedom in realizing that you are not required to meet someone else's version of you. The moment you stop defending yourself, you reclaim your peace. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people who are determined to misunderstand you, you step into your power. Your story is yours to tell, not theirs to twist. So, beloved, hold your head high. Let them say what they will. You have nothing to prove. Your worth is not found in their version of you. It is found in the way you keep showing up, in the way you keep growing, in the way you keep choosing love and truth over fear and manipulation. Own your story. Walk boldly in your truth and never, ever let someone else hold the pen. Beloved, some people are like poison. Just a little bit of them can leave you drained, anxious, and questioning your own worth. Toxic people don't always come in the form of loud, aggressive manipulators. Sometimes they disguise themselves as close friends, family members, or even mentors. They show up in your life with backhanded compliments, passive-aggressive remarks, and constant demands for your energy. And because they are woven into your world, cutting them off completely isn't always possible. But here's the good news. You don't have to cut them off to reclaim your peace. You simply have to limit your exposure. Think of it like this. If you knew a certain food made you sick every time you ate it, you wouldn't keep eating it just to be polite, would you? You wouldn't sit at the table forcing yourself to swallow something that was harming you. The same applies to toxic people. You don't have to completely remove them from your life to protect yourself. You just need to be mindful of how much access they have to you. The more time you spend with negativity, the more it seeps into your spirit. That's why limiting exposure isn't about punishment, it's about protection. Limiting your exposure means being intentional about when, where, and how often you interact with toxic people. Maybe that means cutting back on phone calls that always leave you exhausted. Maybe it means keeping conversations short and surface level rather than diving into emotional topics that always lead to conflict. Maybe it means choosing not to attend every gathering where you know they'll be stirring up drama. Whatever it looks like for you, remember this. You are allowed to create distance between yourself and someone who brings you harm. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if they're family? What if I work with them? What if cutting them off isn't an option? Beloved, distance doesn't always have to be physical. Sometimes the most powerful boundary you can set is emotional distance. You can be in the same room as someone and still refuse to let them into your heart. You can sit across the table from them and still hold your peace. You can nod, smile, and disengage when they try to pull you into their storm. Protecting your energy is not about avoiding people entirely. It's about refusing to let their toxicity take root in you. One of the hardest parts of limiting exposure is the guilt that comes with it. Maybe they'll notice your distance. Maybe they'll call you out, accuse you of being cold, distant, or selfish. But beloved, their discomfort is not your burden to carry. A person who truly loves and respects you will not guilt you into constant availability. They will not demand unlimited access to your time and emotions. Toxic people, on the other hand, will make you feel like you owe them something. But hear me, you do not owe anyone unlimited access to your life, especially if they bring nothing but pain. So be wise with your energy, be intentional with your time. You are not obligated to endure someone's toxicity just because they've been in your life for a long time. You have the right to step back, to breathe, to reclaim your peace. And when you do, you'll notice something beautiful. You'll have more space for the people who truly nourish your soul, the ones who respect your boundaries, who bring light instead of darkness, who love you without conditions. Because, beloved, life is too short to waste on relationships that steal your joy. Limit your exposure, protect your peace, and watch how your life begins to flourish. Beloved, when someone hurts you, it's natural to feel anger rise up in your chest. It's natural to replay the situation in your mind, thinking of all the things you should have said, all the ways you could have stood your ground. Toxic people have a way of pulling us into a spiral of resentment, making us feel small, unheard, and powerless. But hear me, resentment is a chain, and strength is the key. You do not have to let their actions poison your heart. You do not have to carry the weight of their wrongdoing. There is a way to stand firm, to set boundaries, to protect yourself without letting bitterness take root. Resentment is sneaky. It starts as a justified feeling you were wronged after all. But over time, if left unchecked, it turns into something heavier. It begins to take up space in your heart, creeping into your thoughts, your conversations, your energy. You start holding on to every offense, every insult, every moment of betrayal. And beloved, that kind of weight will only slow you down. When you respond with resentment, you stay tethered to the very people you're trying to break free from. But when you respond with strength, with clarity, wisdom, and self-respect, you take your power back. So what does responding with strength look like? It means choosing your peace over petty battles. It means not allowing someone else's toxicity to dictate your emotions. It means setting boundaries with confidence instead of hostility. A strong response sounds like, I will not tolerate disrespect, but I won't waste my energy proving myself to you. It sounds like, I see what you're trying to do, but I won't engage in your drama. It sounds like, I am walking away, not because I'm weak, but because I refuse to lower myself to your level. Strength is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. when to fight and when to walk away, when to forgive and when to let go. Now let's talk about forgiveness, because strength and forgiveness go hand in hand. Forgiveness does not mean excusing bad behavior. It does not mean allowing toxic people back into your life. It simply means releasing yourself from the burden of anger. It's saying, I refuse to let your actions define my heart. Because when you hold on to resentment, the only person suffering is you. Toxic people don't feel the weight of your anger. You do. They don't lose sleep over it. You do. But when you let go, when you choose to respond with strength instead of bitterness, you reclaim your peace. Some people will never apologize. Some will never acknowledge the damage they've done. Some will continue spinning their stories, playing the victim, trying to make you the villain. And that is their burden to carry, not yours. Your strength is in knowing who you are and refusing to be reduced by their actions. It's in taking the high road, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. It's in choosing growth over grudges, wisdom over wasted energy, and grace over bitterness. Not for them, but for you. Beloved, strength is not about winning the battle. It's about knowing which battles are worth your time. It's about recognizing that your energy is sacred, that your heart is too valuable to be consumed by anger. So stand firm, but do not let resentment take root. Set boundaries, but do not let bitterness steal your joy. Protect your peace, but do not let your heart harden. Because the greatest power you have is the ability to rise above the chaos, to walk forward with grace, confidence, and a heart that is free. Beloved, every day you have a choice. You can choose to be pulled into the whirlwind of drama, reacting to every insult, every misunderstanding, every toxic situation that presents itself. Or you can choose growth. You can choose to rise above, to walk away, to focus on the person you are becoming rather than the distractions trying to pull you backward. And hear me now, drama is a trap, but growth is a journey. One will keep you stuck, constantly battling for your dignity, your peace, your sense of self. The other will set you free. Drama is an easy choice because it feeds something in us. It gives us an immediate sense of control, a way to defend ourselves, a way to feel seen and heard, if only for a moment. But drama is deceptive. It takes more than it gives. It drains you, consumes your thoughts, and robs you of the energy you could be using to build something better. Toxic people thrive in drama because it keeps them at the center of attention. And if you're not careful, they'll drag you into their chaos simply because they can't handle peace. But beloved, you were not made for constant battles. You were made to grow. Growth, on the other hand, is harder. It requires discipline. It requires walking away from arguments that serve no purpose. It requires learning when to be silent, when to take the high road, when to let go of the need to always be right. Growth asks you to prioritize your future over your feelings in the moment. It asks you to step back and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does this help me become the person I want to be? And more often than not, the answer will be no, because the people who pull you into drama aren't interested in resolution. They're interested in control. And when you stop engaging, you take that control away. Beloved, growth will cost you something. It will cost you your comfort. It will cost you relationships with people who only knew how to exist in chaos. It will cost you the satisfaction of having the last word. But what you gain in return is worth infinitely more. You gain peace, you gain wisdom, you gain the ability to see things clearly without getting entangled in battles that were never meant for you. And perhaps most importantly, you gain the ability to respond rather than react, to approach situations with strength and clarity rather than anger and frustration. Now, let's be real, choosing growth doesn't mean you won't be tempted. There will be moments when someone says something hurtful, when you feel misunderstood, when every part of you wants to defend yourself, to fight back, to set the record straight. But hear me. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone who is committed to misunderstanding you. You do not need to get involved in every argument just because you were invited. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every battle is yours to fight. The higher you climb, the less you will be affected by the noise below. And that's where your focus needs to be, on the climb. So, beloved, the next time drama knocks on your door, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself if this moment is helping you grow or keeping you stuck. And if the answer is anything less than growth, walk away. Protect your peace. Choose the path that leads forward, not the one that drags you backward. Because life is too short, your purpose is too great, and your heart is too valuable to waste on battles that don't serve you. Choose growth over drama every single time.